esteemed guests, before we start the official part of tonight's program, may I mention that 3 days ago, a terrible earthquake hit the northeast of Japan, killing at least 4 people and injuring hundreds of others. And we express our sincere condolences and sorrow on this tragedy. And now, may we rise for the Armenian national anthem. Please remain standing for the Japanese national anthem. Your Eminence, Archbishop Hognan Derderian, Your Excellency Consul General Akira Muto, Your Excellency Ambassador Armen Bayburtian, Honorable Mayor Paula Devine, Honorable Mayor Jake Maloney, Honorable Councilmember Arana Jarian, Holy Fathers, esteemed dignitaries and guests, ladies and gentlemen, we are gathered here tonight to mark a very special occasion, the 30th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between Japan and Armenia. This event is organized by the Western Diocese of the Armenian Church, the Consulate General of Japan in Armenia, and the Japan Foundation, Los Angeles, and it is appropriately called the Japan-Armenia Friendship Event, an evening of music and of bridging the next generation of leaders of two countries. This event is a celebration not only of the political and economic relations between two countries, but the bonds that have been weaved and continue to weave between two great peoples, embedded on exceptional mutual respect and admiration for each other's culture, history, and the common values that we hold dear. 30 years ago, on the 7th of September 1992, the Republic of Armenia and Japan established diplomatic relations. Since then, the two countries have held nearly 30 high-level visits, have signed more than 10 official documents on partnership, cooperation, and investments, and the government of Japan has extended more than $380 million in official assistance to Armenia. Deepening their relations the Embassy of Armenia was opened in Tokyo in 2010, and 5 years later, the Embassy of Japan was opened in Yerevan in 2015. Yet, the bond of our two peoples goes beyond numbers and has its roots in compassion for humanity and humanitarianism. And this, dear friends, cannot be counted. 100 years ago, in February 1922, the prominent Japanese banker Viscount Eiichi Shibusawa, widely regarded as the father of Japanese capitalism, became the chairman of the newly formed Armenian Relief Committee of Japan, established to provide relief to survivors of the Armenian genocide. Viscount Shibusawa went on to appeal to about 100 Japanese leaders for their support of the relief effort, which saw contributions from across Japanese society, ordinary citizens, political leaders, businessmen, and royalty as well, including Prince Tokugawa Yoshihisa. During this same period, Japan-Armenia relations were marked by the efforts of yet another great humanitarian, Diana Agabek Akar, the consul of Armenia to Japan, and also one of the first women to hold a diplomatic position in history. Through her efforts, Armenian refugees arriving in Japan, having survived the Armenian genocide without official documentation and thus considered stateless, were given special asylum by the Japanese government and secured with proper documents in order to continue their journey and reconnect with their families. Through her efforts as well, Japan became one of the first nations to recognize the newly independent Republic of Armenia. The friendship and connection of the Japanese and Armenian peoples have grown deeper since. After the Spitak earthquake of 1988, Japan rushed to the assistance of the Armenian people. Today, Armenia houses 2 Japanese centers dedicated to the promotion of Japanese language education and culture in Armenia, the Iroha Center and the AJP Hikari Center. Additionally, Japanese specialists are involved in the restoration of the Mother Cathedral of Holy Echmiadzin, the international fundraising efforts of which are led by Archbishop Derderian. Similarly, Japan houses the Japan-Armenia Friendship Association, founded in 1984 by the Japanese public figure, historian, and writer Hideharu Nakajima. This association is dedicated to the promotion of Armenian culture and history in Japan, and also publishes 2 quarterly magazines in Japanese, called the Arax and the Ararat. Japan also houses today a Center for Armenian Studies in Tokyo, as well as the Komitas Musical Society of Japan. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight, as we enjoy music, food, and drink, may these testaments from history in our modern days speak loudly once more of the deep bond and friendship between 2 great peoples, a bond that undoubtedly will continue to prosper as the pebbles become boulders, to cite the Japanese national anthem, and for centuries and centuries more, to cite the Armenian national anthem. Arigato, Shragalutsu. It is now my honor to introduce His Eminence, Archbishop Hovnan Derderian, Primate of the Western Diocese of the Armenian Church of North America. His Eminence, Archbishop Derderian, received his theological education at the Gevorkian Seminary in Echmiadzin and the Oxford University Theology School in England. His Eminence was ordained as a celibate priest in 1980 by His Holiness Vazgen I, Catholicos of all Armenians, later being elevated to the rank of Doctor of Theology, or Vartapet, in 1984, to Bishop in 1990, and to Archbishop in 1993. In 1990, His Eminence was elected as the Primate of the Diocese of the Armenian Church in Canada, and 13 years later, in 2003, elected as the Primate of the Western Diocese of the Armenian Church of North America. A brief introduction may do no justice to the innumerable initiatives that have blossomed under the service of Archbishop Derderian, but if I were to name just a few, that would include the ordainment of a new generation of priests and the construction and consecration of numerous churches, including the St. Leon Armenian Cathedral, the spiritual center of the Western Diocese, where we are today.
Honorable Consul General Akira Muto, Your Excellency Ambassador Armen Bayburtian, Honorable Mayor Paula Devine, Honorable Mayor Maloney, Council Member Aranajarian, Diocesan Council Chair Mr. Derek Gugasyan, and esteemed guests. Before we begin, we take a moment to remember in our prayers those who were impacted and affected by the devastating earthquake off the coast of Fukushima in northern Japan on March 16th, plunging more than 2 million homes in the Tokyo area into darkness. Tonight's gathering is in honor of the solid bond of friendship between the Japanese and Armenian people. This year also marks the 30th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between the two countries. Last year, Armenia welcomed His Excellency Masanori Fukushima, the ambassador of Japan to Armenia, who with his activities has greatly contributed to the development of Armenian-Japanese multifaceted cooperation and the enrichment of bilateral diplomacy. This event at the Western Diocese marks another milestone in the life of the Japanese and Armenian people, as it further solidifies the bond between our communities. The camaraderie between our people that dates back centuries and has withstood respective injustices was highlighted 2 years ago during the momentous event, Legacy of Diana Apgar, a great humanitarian and the mother of the Armenian nation, on September 17, 2019, at the Western Diocese. The evening dedicated to the Armenian-Japanese friendship was held in the presence of elected officials on a local, county, and state level. We reflected on Diana Apgar's symbolic life and her humanitarian aid during a perilous chapter in Armenian history, as she provided emotional care and financial assistance for Armenian genocide survivors who found refuge in Japan. She indeed was an iconic figure in Armenian history. With immense assistance and help graced upon her by the Japanese, Diana Apgar touched the hearts of many Armenians, especially the orphans, by facilitating their relocation in Japan. I recall conversing with members of our community who were inspired by the cultural fusion and historic ties during a presentation sponsored by the Western Diocese of the Armenian Church and the Consulate General of Japan in Los Angeles, supported by the Little Tokyo Service Center, the Japanese American National Museum, and the Japanese American Cultural and Community Center. Honorable guests, we are reminded of Gibran Khalil Gibran's most inspiring quote, which states, "Your friend is your needs answered. He is your field which you sow with love and reap with thanksgiving. And he is your board and your fireside. For you come to him with your hunger, and you seek him for peace." Armenians found a true friend in Japan. The Western Diocese of the Armenian Church of North America, as an extension of the spiritual center of the Armenian people, the Mother See of Holy Echmiadzin, has been actively engaged in the cultural life of the Japanese American community. A statement to our friendship is the cross-stone khachkar that is situated on the wall of our cathedral. We are delighted in our friendship with His Excellency Akira Muto, the Consul General of Japan in Los Angeles, who, having welcomed our invitation, graced us with the cordial presence at the cathedral on the Feast of the Nativity and Theophany on January the 6th of this year. From the bottom of our hearts, we thank you, Honorable Consul General. Your presence at the Western Diocese is always welcomed and highly appreciated. Thank you. I would like to make a presentation to our Honorable Consul General Akira Muto, an icon which is prepared in Armenia, which will always be a token of reminder of our close friendship between the Armenian and Japanese community. Please, Consul General.
Thank you, Your Eminence. It is now my honor to introduce His Excellency Akira Muto, Consul General of Japan in Los Angeles. Consul General Akira Muto graduated from the Faculty of Economics, University of Tokyo, and joined the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in 1985. Having served at the embassies of Japan in Washington, D.C. and Moscow, he held directorships for Free Trade Agreement and Economic Partnership, Intelligence and Analysis, Russian Affairs, and Foreign Policy Coordination from 2004 to 2012. And in 2012, he became Consul General of Japan in Boston. He served as Deputy Director General, European Affairs Bureau, and later as in the National Security Secretariat from 2015 to 2016. He was Minister at the Embassy of Japan in the US and also a Global Affiliate Visiting Scholar at Stanford University during that time. He became Consul General of Japan in Los Angeles in 2019.
And it's my great pleasure to join this special event today. And I would like to extend my deepest gratitude to His Eminence, Archbishop Delgado, for allowing us to hold this special event at this beautiful church of Western Diocese. I would also like to acknowledge Consul General of Armenia in Los Angeles, Ambassador Uji. I celebrate together with you and all the people of Armenia and Japan the 30th anniversary year of formal diplomatic relations between Japan and the Republic of Armenia. I'm also happy to see we are joined today by representatives of the city of Glendale, Mayor Devine, and Council Member Najarian, as well as Mayor Jeff Maloney of the city of Alhambra. As many of you may be aware, my consular office has collaborated on several events in the past, celebrating the ties between the Armenian and Japanese communities, including an event held at Glendale's Brown Library for the 26th anniversary of the diplomatic relations in 2018, as well as an event in 2019 held in here at Western Diocese, as was mentioned by His Eminence Archbishop Delgado, exploring the legacy of Diane Apka, the honorary consul of Armenia to Japan in the early 1900s, who was instrumental in aiding Armenian refugees, furthering Japan-Armenian relations. As Los Angeles is home to the largest Japanese and Armenian communities in the United States, the friendship between our two local communities will have strong implications for the ties between our two countries. I look forward to more future events of this kind to continually strengthen our ties even more. During these difficult times, as recent events in Ukraine have shown us, world peace is fragile and would be tested anytime, anywhere, including Europe and in Asia. Both Armenia and Japan have been encircled by big powers. In light of recent developments, it is more important than ever to build mutual understanding and forge friendship across cultures and among democracies. I am also pleased to see today that we are joined by young leaders of both the Armenian and Japanese communities. It is true for all communities that the involvement of the younger generation is essential for the further growth and sustainability of the community. We have among us next generation Japanese American leaders. Mayor Maloney of Alhambra is one of those leaders. Yeah. And Ms. Jennifer Hirano. Who will be providing remarks during the reception portion, is another leader who is carrying on the legacy of her mother, Irene Hirano Inoue, the founding president and CEO of the Japanese American National Museum, located in Little Tokyo, who also served as president of the US-Japan Council which she co-founded with her husband, former Senator Daniel Inouye of Hana, Hawaii. I am very happy to see leaders such as Jeff and Jennifer take leading roles in the community, and hope they will be inspired by young leaders of the Armenian community, which has such a strong presence in the United States. In closing, I would also like to thank Ms. Yasuko Uchida, Director of Japan Foundation of Los Angeles, and her staff for arranging the beautiful musical performance we will enjoy today. I would also like to thank the Armenian community, Archbishop Durkin and Consul General Baluchian, for your generosity towards the entire Japanese community. And I look forward to furthering our connection today and beyond. Thank you very much.
It is now my honor to introduce His Excellency Ambassador Armen Bayburtian, Consul General of Armenia in Los Angeles. Ambassador Armen Bayburtian has twice served as the Deputy Foreign Minister of Armenia, from 1997 to 2000, and from 2004 to 2008. He was the Senior Advisor to the United Nations Resident Coordinator and the UNDP Resident Representative in Armenia from 2008 to 2013. Ambassador Bayburtian was Armenia's first Consul General in Los Angeles from 1995 to 1997, and later its first ambassador to India, Nepal, Sri Lanka, and Indonesia. From 2014 to 2018, he was Professor of Practice of Political Science at the University of Massachusetts, Amherst. Ambassador Bayburtian has been serving as Consul General of Armenia in Los Angeles since September 2018. He holds a PhD degree in Modern World History from Yerevan State University and a PhD degree in International Relations from Jawaharlal Nehru University.
Your Eminence, Archbishop Terterian, Your Excellency, Consul General Hakiramoto, Honorable Mayor Paula Divine, Honorable Mayor Mahoney, Honorable Member of the Glendale City Council Najarian, members and leaders of the Armenian and Japanese communities here in Los Angeles, in Southern California. Of course, the Diocesan Council Chair, Mr. Derek Gokasyan, Madam Gokasyan, ladies and gentlemen. And also I should acknowledge the presence of Japanese diplomats from the Consulate General. It gives me a great pleasure to be present today at this really remarkable event. And I would like to, from the outset, to express my delight on this occasion, not only 30th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between Armenia and Japan, but also that this remarkable event is taking place at the Diocese of the Western Diocese of the Armenian Church. My gratitude to His Eminence for this, because that an indication, a symbol of the depth of Armenian-Japanese relations. They carry not only formal character, but it is a manifestation of the true friendship that expands much further than the formal part of this relations. Japan is a very special country for Armenia. I'd like to talk very briefly about Armenia and Japan relations. It's a friendly country for us, for our nation. From the very beginning of independence of Armenia in 1991, when Japan was one of the first countries that officially recognized independence of Armenia, and then since 92, when formal diplomatic relations were established between two nations, Japan played a pivotal role for Armenia. Japan was the second largest donor country for Armenia for many years. After the United States, Japan not only extended humanitarian and technical assistance to Armenia, but also supported Armenia in developing its own very many plans, strategies. For example, I remember that at the early stage of independence, Japan helped to develop master plan of development of businesses in Armenia, etc., contributing to the development of economy. There are very many indicators for measuring, for assessing the depth of relations between two countries. But I would like to focus on one indicator which is always important for me personally as Armenian diplomat. I always try to see how the country, specific country, contributed to the strengthening of the Armenian statehood, because we were and still are a relatively newly independent country. How Japan, for example, contributed. And when we take a look from this perspective, we see that from the very beginning of the independence, Japan strongly supported independence and independent statehood of Armenia in advancement of this statehood, which we appreciate very much, and Japan continues to do so. I recall those years that I was deputy foreign minister twice, and my portfolio included also Asia, including Japan. And I visited for 4 times Japan, and Japan was one of the most important countries that I worked with in that capacity. And allow me to mention that I had the privilege of organizing 2 business conferences, Armenian-Japanese, to attract Japanese investments and trade to Armenia. You would be surprised to know, I believe it was 2005 if I am not mistaken, you would be surprised to know that the first one took place in Moscow. Why Moscow? Then I realized that all the major Japanese companies are strongly represented in Moscow. In Moscow, Armenia owns its own pavilion at Expo. It's a huge building and complex. Owns its own building. We had that business conference at the building. And the second one afterwards was in Yerevan itself. And we started to work very closely with Japanese businesses, attracting them and promoting Japanese business in Armenia. And let me mention that also we worked very closely with JICA and JBIC. JICA is the development agency of Japan, International Development Agency, and JBIC also the bank that extends supports for abroad for several countries. And Armenia was privileged to receive very many loans. And those loans, I use privileged word very often, but on purpose, because those were privileged loans that Armenia was receiving from Japan. And I recall those years, so thermal power station, which was for vital need for us in Yerevan itself, was completely reconstructed based on the assistance that we were receiving from Japan. The first tranche was $150 million, and the second was, if I'm not mistaken, 80 or 90 million. And so Japanese assistance was always important and genuine. Again, aimed at supporting the basis of Armenian statehood. And I had also privilege to when Mr. Khazarjan was mentioning previous positions of Consul General, Muto mentioned that he was Deputy Director of the European Bureau. So I had first political consultations with the Director of the European Bureau. At that time was Ambassador Harada. So with him in Japan was very, very interesting, and I was in Japan for several times upon invitation of colleagues. So all the time those meetings, visits were very substantive. And concluding my remarks, I would like to tell that it's not accidental at all that today here in Los Angeles, in Burbank, in the entire Los Angeles and Southern California, we see this kind of a level of cooperation between our 2 nations, and at the center the Armenian Diocese stands, which is really great, and I am hopeful that these relations will expand much further for the sake of Armenia-Japan interstate relations, but also for the sake of our communities here in Southern California. Thank you very much.
As I mentioned, tonight is a celebration. The celebration calls for music that comes from the soul and speaks to the heart. Joining us on this occasion is the Hana Habiki Duo, with Kozuya Matsumoto playing the koto, the Japanese national instrument, and Rachel Rudish playing the shakuhachi, a traditional Japanese bamboo flute. The Hana Habiki Duo meld their love of traditional Japanese music with their expertise in contemporary and experimental forms. Their fusion of traditional, modern, and improvisational music creates an incredibly vibrant and exciting showcase for Japanese culture through music. Rudish and Matsumoto also co-teach and direct Cal Arts Japan Ensemble and teach classes in shakuhachi and koto. They also direct a lecture demonstration series online with guest artists from various Japanese musical and performing arts from around the globe. It is worth noting that the name of the duo is comprised of two Japanese words, Hana, meaning flower or the beauty of arts, and Habiki, meaning resonate. Indeed, may the beauty of the arts resonate through their music. Ladies and gentlemen, the Hana Habiki Duo. Tonight we have a very special virtual presentation and question and answer with the Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of Japan to the Republic of Armenia, Ambassador Masanori Fukushima, and it is my honor to introduce him. Ambassador Masanori Fukushima graduated from the Faculty of Foreign Studies, Russian language, of Sofia University in 1981 and joined the Japanese Ministry of Foreign Affairs in 1983. From 2002, Ambassador Fukushima has served in the European Affairs Bureau of the Japanese Ministry of Foreign Affairs, initially as Deputy Director of the Russian Division, then as Deputy Director of the Russian Assistance Division, and later as Principal Deputy Director of the same division. Ambassador Fukushima has also served as Principal Deputy Director of the Passport Division of the Consular Affairs Bureau. His Excellency's diplomatic career has included the posts of Consul General of Japan in St. Petersburg from 2016 and Consul General of Japan in Khabarovsk from 2018. Since April 2021, Ambassador Fukushima is the Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of Japan to Armenia.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Masanori Fukushima, Japanese ambassador in Armenia. It is my great honor to participate in such a wonderful event to commemorate the 30th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between Japan and Armenia. For Japan, Armenia is an important partner in building a free and open international order based on the principle of rule of law. In this regard, the government of Japan has provided various types of assistance to Armenia, including economic and humanitarian assistance. Japan will continue to provide such assistance to Armenia in the future. Looking back on history, the relationship between Armenia and Japan started to develop at the turn of 20th century. In order to help Armenian refugees in Japan, in 1922, a committee was established to organize fundraising. The central figure was Mr. Eiichi Shibusawa, a well-known businessman. Former president of Armenia, Mr. Sarkisian, visited the Shibusawa Memorial Museum when he came to Japan to participate in the opening ceremony of Tokyo Olympics Games in July last year. The museum received the very, very important medal. It is called Ambassador Henry Morgenson Medal in recognition of his achievements. In addition, Miss Diana Apker, who lived in Japan at the same time, and she was appointed as an honorary consul of the Republic of Armenia, assisted many Armenian refugees in the traveling to the United States and other countries via Japan. Japan and Armenia are geographically distant countries, and the people of each country have different culture and customs and habits. However, when I came to Armenia, I realized that both countries and their people share some similarities. Both countries have a long history and value old culture. In addition, they are beautiful with many mountains and are earthquake-prone countries. During the 1988 Armenian earthquake, the government of Japan immediately decided to provide assistance and provided personnel and supplies for relief. And on the other hand, after the Japanese earthquake, which is called Great East Japan earthquake, which occurred in 2011, the Armenian people established a hachkar in memory of the victims of Great East Japan earthquake near the memorial monument hachkar in Spitak for the victim of the Armenian earthquake. So there are two hachkars are standing in Spitak right now. Every year, the Armenian government holds memorial ceremonies in these two hachkars. One of them is on December 7th, when the Armenian earthquake struck, and other one is on March 11th, tomorrow, when the Great East Japan earthquake struck. Once again, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to the Armenian government and the people of Armenia. What I would like to emphasize in particular is that both countries place importance on human resources above all else and on education. And I feel that the people of both countries have a warm heart that is considerate of others. One of the things that surprised me when I came to Armenia is the high development of IT education for children. When I visited an IT-related facility, I was impressed by the fact that it provided free computer education to children. Young people are our hope that will bear responsibility for country's future. I felt that this kind of educational attitude should be emulated in Japan as well. I am certain that the most important tasks for further development of bilateral relations between our countries are strengthening economic relations, promoting cultural exchanges, as well as advancing youth exchange. Youth is our hope and future. One of my favorite Armenian songs is the beautiful song. It is called I Dream of the Armenian Homeland, with the lyrics, I'm a handful of your soil. As a handful of soil in the friendly relationship between Japan and Armenia, I will do my utmost to further promote the relationship between our countries. I would like to ask you for the understanding and cooperation of the people of both Japan and Armenia in this regard. Finally, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to all the people involved in planning such a very, very wonderful event, and hope that the friendly relationship between Japan and Armenia will be further developed.
As the official part of tonight's program draws to a close, I would like to share one more historical instance which speaks volumes about the depth of compassion that resonates between the Japanese and Armenian people. This instance, too, is from 100 years ago, recently recounted by researcher Vigen Babkanian. In September 1922, hundreds of thousands of Armenian and Greek civilians flee to the key of Smyrna as Turkish nationalist troops enter and occupy the city. A fire breaks out, leading to the refugees crowding each other off the wharf as the city begins to burn. As some 20 Allied warships and freighters watch the catastrophe unfold, only a handful of ships approached the port to save the refugees. Among these is a Japanese ship called the Tokei Maru, the captain of which makes the call: overthrow the entire cargo of very valuable silks, laces, and china in order to accommodate several hundreds of refugees who are then delivered to safety. Once again, may the friendship of the two nations and the partnership of their great countries continue for ages to come. I would like to thank you all for participating in tonight's event dedicated to the 30th anniversary of diplomatic relations between Japan and Armenia, organized by the Western Diocese of the Armenian Church, the Consulate General of Japan in Los Angeles, and the Japan Foundation, Los Angeles.